A small, sleepy town in North Carolina called Roanoke Rapids may bear little resemblance to Kabul or Baghdad, but its police department now has its own mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles, or AMRAPs. So do police departments in many other towns and counties across the U.S., all thanks to the Pentagon's so-called 1033 program, which provides or transfers surplus Department of Defense military equipment to state and local civilian law enforcement agencies without charge. Georgia Congressman Hank Johnson is about to introduce a bill that would rein in further police militarization. Joining me to talk about this is Michael Shank, Associate Director for Legislative Affairs at the Friends Committee on National Legislation. Michael, thank you.
It's good to be here. Thanks for covering this issue.
What is the driving concern behind this legislation?
We've got several concerns. There's a cost concern, there's an accountability concern, there's a cultural concern, what's happening to America's main streets. We're being militarized and we're becoming more and more representative of a war zone, as you mentioned in your lead. But there's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse potential here, and misuse. So in response to Occupy Wall Street, you see these armored personnel carriers and increasingly assault weapons, increasingly drones, aircraft being used by very small-town police chiefs who, I mean, it's very much kind of boys and their toys, using weaponry that they really don't need in the local community.
And especially with those military vehicles, why would you need that at a university campus? And
That's
we're
right.
talking about the University of Ohio, as I understand.
That's exactly right. And so these are weapons that run $600,000, $700,000 on the market. So these small towns are getting these weapons, this machinery, the MRAP, and then they have to do maintenance on it. So not only do they have a machine that they can't upkeep, they have a machine that ultimately they don't need. The bill that you mentioned, Congressman Johnson's bill, would both ban MRAPs coming from the war zone to small towns in America. It would also ban drones and aircraft and assault weapons. It would allow things to come across like, you know, microwaves that are being used in the war zone. Certainly police chiefs might need to use for a microwave or refrigerator or a car or vehicle, something like that. But anything bigger than that, it bans and also does oversight. Currently, there's no inventory, there's no accountability. So police chiefs in Indiana and in Illinois are either selling them on eBay or giving them to friends. Assault weapons that we're talking, not the MRAPs, but the assault weapons are giving to friends selling on eBay. So there's really no accountability system in place. That's what the bill would look at.
And that is quite alarming. You talked about drones, and police departments are now acquiring those drones. Right. But their argument is that the drones allow them to patrol cities better. How would you respond to that argument? Right.
So there's certainly some benign use of drones in terms of surveillance, and the Department of Homeland Security is looking at that. The Department of Homeland Security is actually giving, in addition to this 1033 program, they're giving terrorism grants. They've given $34 billion so far to police chiefs all across America, to essentially in cash, to use how they want. So they're also buying assault weapons, drones, aircraft, MRAPs. The problem there is once it's armed, then there's an accountability issue. And there's a cultural issue to my earlier point. Do we want America becoming less and less safe? Lower social capital, people aren't feeling safe in the public sphere. And we're reminding ourselves of the very war zones that we're essentially liberating or trying to protect in theory.
What about the Pentagon's argument that that's a way for them to recycle, basically?
Great question.
I'm sure that they don't put it in those exact words, but it is what it is, isn't it?
Sure. So we're bringing back 20,000 MRAPs from the war zone. So I would push back and say our strategy at the beginning was a little ill-thought. If we have 20,000 MRAPs that we now can't use, and we're probably going to put in a graveyard in Arizona or somewhere. So there's a strategic thing there, but we could recycle it. There's currently no audit of Pentagon use of any of this. The Pentagon hasn't been audited, won't be audited until 2017, 2018. So there's a taxpayer issue, because once these MRAPs are given to police forces, they won't be able to be used in the war zone again. This is great for defense contractors, because then they can get new contracts to build new machinery for the next war zone. So there is a cost to the taxpayer.
Michael, what are the chances of a bill like the one that you are proposing of actually passing in Congress? I mean, defying the Pentagon is not exactly what Congress is known for.
Right, because defense contractors have a hold on Congress, as does the Pentagon. I think it has a great chance. Every member of Congress we've talked to, Republican and Democrat, is on board because they don't want the main streets of America militarized. You know, there's a SWATification that's happening too. Radley Balco, who writes a lot on these issues, says 150 SWAT raids a day. So I think members of Congress, they're reporting to their constituency, and Americans don't want that kind of culture. And there's not just cause for these kind of militarization of U.S. police forces in America.
So it does have a chance to pass.
Absolutely. We expect it to pass the House. We're talking with the Senate about a Senate companion bill.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael Shank.
Thank you.
Michael Shank, the Associate Director for Legislative Affairs at the Friends Committee on National Legislation.